Okay, for this drawing, we're going to be doing the 522 clock, and this is what your drawing looks like. So right here is the drawing of the clock. I did make a couple modifications on this drawing. I've made this into 2.75 inches here, and one other one up here that's not on this, but it is in your book on page 63, is there's a ½ inch measurement here. So this line is a ½ inch above this center line. So those are the two little changes we made. The first thing we have to do is this clock is 13.5 units across, and my drawing space is 9.35 inches across. So the clock won't fit on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to scale the title block and border. So I just went SC for scale. I'm going to select the entire title block and border, and I'm going to scale it from the base point of this bottom corner, and I'm going to make it twice as big. So I'm going to just type 2. So I made that title block and border twice as big, and now my clock's going to fit out there no problem. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to modify my title block and border a little bit. This, I just done the figure 521, so I'm just going to modify this into saying figure 522. On the scale, since we scaled our title block twice as big, when we print this, it's a little bit confusing here, but when we print this, it's going to be a 0.5 inch to 1 inch scale. So every ½ of an inch on the drawing when it's printed will equal 1 inch. Next, material is going to be wood. And then from there, set in the correct hour, the correct date, and your name if you don't have it in your title block and border yet. So there's all that. Then now, look at this drawing. We're going to start it just the way I suggest you start every drawing. It has a circular part, so you're going to start it with a couple of center lines. So I'm on the layout layer. I'm going to draw a center line from the left of the, whoops, not up there to that corner. From the left of the screen to the right of the screen there, and one from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen there. Has our two center lines in there looking great. Then we're going to put two circles in there. A circle that goes to that intersection right there is where it starts. If you look at the book, it's a diameter of 4 for one circle. And then we're going to do another circle that has a radius of 2.75. So 2.75. And that looks great. All right, so now what we're going to do is we want to bring these two lines straight down off each side of these two corners. Now, you could just go in there and make a line from that intersection straight down. But what I don't like about that is if you made this circle the wrong size by accident, that doesn't help you by finding your mistakes. So what I'd rather do is I'd rather go O for offset, offset my 2.75 inches, offset from this center line to the right 2.75 inches, and from the center line to the left, 2.75 inches. So now that has that in there, has those two parallel lines in there. We can tell, hey, that looks pretty good, and everything's looking good. Once you have those lines done, then our next thing, I like to do something I call lessen the confusion. So right now we have some extra lines out there. So I want to use the trim command. I'm just going to go TR for trim, enter. And I want to trim off this line up here. I can just go over there and click on it individually like that. Or what I like better is I like just dragging and clicking and holding, dragging my line across, just making a line across there. So that trimmed off that piece, there and there on the top, and then trim off this piece of the circle there and there. So there now I have that center little part of the clock arced up, looking beautiful. All right, so now next what we're going to do is we're going to pull back up our drawing. On our drawing, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to find this corner right here where this arc starts. So we're going to try to find that corner right there. If we look at it, this one, again, they're only just mentioning one of the dimensions, but from this center line up to here, it's 0.5 inches up. And then from that new line, it's 2.25 inches down to this corner. So let's take a look at that. And it's also, I should say here, 2.5 inches over. All right, a lot of little measurements there. Let's take a look. So from this line, we just determined it was 2.5 inches over. So we're just going to use offset again. Offset 2.5. Select this line and offset 2.5 to the right. And then pick this line over here and offset 2.5 to the left. Okay, so those two lines are offset. Now next, I need this next little line that was up here a little ways. Again, what it just saw in our drawing is that line is a ½ of an inch up. So I'm going to again offset 0.5 above this center line. So I'm going to select this center line. And I'm going to offset up 0.5. Gave me a new line there. And then looking at the handout, from this line down, it's 2.25. So I'm going to offset 2.25 to right there. So that's got us there, and we're going to take a look at that here in just a moment. I know this is getting to be a lot of lines here. It starts to get a little bit confusing, but just bear with me for a second. Just a couple more steps, and we're going to get those lines in and make it look a lot nicer. So our next step is this. This line right here that we just offset over 2.2 or 2.5 inches right there. That line, I need to stretch it up to where it intersects right up here. We'll see why we do that in just a second. So pull it straight up to that intersection right there, and that looks beautiful. Now, with this, you can't just come in here and randomly, draw an arc in that looks like this, like, yep, that looks pretty good, that's great. Because if we check the size of that arc, double click on it, that arc is a radius of 2.7637. If we look at our book, that arc should be a radius of 2.25. If you go to manufacture this, 2.76 is a lot different than 2.25. It's not going to be correct. So we can't do it that way. So what we do instead is this, where I just drew this line up to here, to that intersection. I'm going to select a circle. Going to make a circle go to that intersection there with a radius of 2.25. Once that's in there, then we're, again, like I said before, try to lessen the confusion. We're going to trim it out. So this part of the top, we don't need this part of the circle on the top. So get rid of it. I don't need this whole part over here or this part here. And I'm trying to create this little end here, so I really don't need this anymore. I do want to leave my center line because I'll use that center line later. But I don't need these two chunks over here. So then that is nice and trimmed up, makes this nice little piece here that looks just like our handout. Here. Looks just like that, going up and over. And we're going to work on the rest of that here in the next step. Okay, so we've got that. Now, if you totally got lost and confused on that half, that's okay, because guess what? We have another side to do it too. So follow with me on this side, and maybe you'll catch it on this side. So the first thing we're going to do is, we're going to grab this line. What did I do the first time on this line? What did I do with it? I drug it up to there, correct. Yes, I drove it right up to there to that top line. Then I went C for circle, came to that end point or intersection, whatever you find there, and I drew that 2.25 inch circle. Went to there like that. Once that circle's in there, then we trimmed up, went trim, and just started to make and get rid of the things we don't need anymore. I don't need this circle up here on the top, so I got rid of it there. Don't need this line anymore over here, so I got rid of it there. Don't need that one there. I am going to leave the center line again. I mentioned this before. Going to leave the center line, but I don't need that over there. Don't need that piece there. I don't need this here. Again, leaving that center line in there. And now that I got it like that, I really don't need this line that goes across here. So I can get rid of that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. And there, I'm starting to take shape of this clock pretty good. So it's looking a lot like your little handout right there of this clock down to that corner. Okay, so now what we're going to do is now we need to put the base of this clock on here. So a little base. If I look over here, how far below this little arc does that base start? What's the measurement over there? 0.875. So we're going to go O for offset again. Again, we use offset a lot. O, 0.875. Enter. Oops, I'm not on my screen. Let me try that again. O for offset, 0.875. Enter. We're going to offset. Come on. Offset. My offset's not functioning with me. 0.875. Enter. There we go. Click on that line and go below at 8.75 or 0.875. Then next, what's the thickness of this base? It tells you over here on this left-hand side. Or on the left over here, it tells you how thick that base is. 0.75. So we're going to go O for offset, 0.75, and offset down 0.75. So that's got your base in here. Now one other thing you got to look at is this. Is now how far over does it go here to this base over here from that line? It goes over another 1.526 inches. 1.526 inches. So we're going to go offset 1.526. on the outside there, and on the outside over there. Okay, so now we're really basically to the end of this drawing. We just need to trim it up a bunch. So, for example, this line here, this line really we don't need it all anymore because that was just a line showing us on finding that corner. So we can just erase that out entirely. So I'm just going to go E and erase that line out. Now, what I need to do is I need to trim it up. So I try to use trim very efficiently. So I go TR for trim. So here, I need to trim off this entire corner of it here. So again, remember, if you click and hold here, trim it down and around, I can trim all that end of it up, and they're all gone. If I come over here to this side, just watch again for a couple seconds. Trim, click around there, and trims all those off. I now need to trim all those off, so I'm just going to put a line across that, and I need to trim all of that off and put a line across that. So that was really quick in trimming. Now, I'm going to go ahead and undo that, and I'm going to show you another way you can do that. If you really want to be efficient, you can go trim, and just watch. So I can come over here. I need to trim, and I go around all these things all the way over to there, trim to there. That's one trimming, bam, knocked all that stuff off. And then draw a line right across there, bam, trimmed all that off. All your trimming is done that quickly, that easily. All right, so last thing, just the same as what we did on our last drawing, the clock itself. I'm going to select all that here with my grips. All of that part of the clock, that is all the object. So I'm going to change that to the object lines layer. These other two lines, those are center lines. So I'm going to select those and change those to the center lines layer. If you remember from the last time on the center lines, they just extend out past the object a little bit. So I'm going to come into here. Here it's eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You can either make it go to right here, to that point, or just outside the circle. I honestly just do it outside the circle, typically. So to there. That one pulled over right to there. This one I pull down to about here, right above that outside circle. This one I do it a little bit differently. I pull it right down below that base right there. The reason for that is it makes it a little bit nicer to get these lines centered up. So I grab this grip, pull it down to the center there, grab this grip, pull it over, and then that makes that really nice and centered and makes that beautiful. That right there is the drawing complete. You're once again going to double click your middle mouse button, get it centered up nicely. You're going to save this as figure 5-22 in the activity folder. Once again, when you do your snipping, make sure that the title block and border is clear. If it's not, you have to do 2 snippings of it to make it clear. But you should be able to get it clear. It looks just fine on my screen, so I'm assuming it'll look fine on yours also. I do have a little bit higher resolution on my screen than you guys do, but I still think it'll look fine. So, there you go. Good luck.